Ultra-MAGA forces are crushing the GOP establishment and are causing that establishment to go into a full-blown meltdown. We're going to see the latest on what's going on with Kevin McCarthy's increasingly doomed quest to become speaker. We're going to see how the establishment is in full panic mode, and make sure to stick with me to the very end of this video when I'll reveal why this Ultra-MAGA revolt is just beginning. You are not going to want to miss this. We are in the midst of what has to be one of the most revealing moments imaginable for the Republican Party establishment. GOP Inc., as I like to call it, the McConnells, the McCarthys, their donors, their mouthpieces, and the Rupert Murdoch-owned media. They are all collectively in a full-blown panic mode. They have no idea. They had no idea this ultra-MAGA revolt was going to happen. And instead of trying to assuage and persuade those ultra-MAGA forces, which is precisely the democratic process such MAGA forces are advocating, no, instead of democracy, they're insisting on the tactics of despotism. GOP Inc. is doing everything they possibly can to browbeat ultra-MAGA congressmen and women into submission to the whims and wishes of the donor class. Look at this front cover of the New York Post, owned by the virulent never-Trumper Rupert Murdoch, the same one who owns Fox News and signs Sean Hannity's checks. It's a cover dedicated to excoriating and demeaning and denouncing the 20 Republicans, the 20 ultra-MAGA representatives who are standing up against the establishment and pushing back against business-as-usual politics. Notice the ironic symbol at the top right corner of this supposedly conservative newspaper. It's the Ukrainian freaking flag, which of course matches the lapel flag that McCarthy is so fond of wearing. These are the people who are telling our representatives, the true representatives of the GOP rank and file, the patriot grassroots, these Zelensky worshipers are the very people who are telling them and us to shut up and get in line. And they're not alone. The donor class mouthpieces over at National Review are largely doing the same thing, like this piece, the House GOP self-destruction. It's a headline you'd think was coming from CNN or MSNBC, and the patronizing byline's even worse. This futile anti-McCarthy tantrum risks the effectiveness of the majority from day one. What pathetic palaver. This tantrum risks the effectiveness of the GOP. What effectiveness is National Review talking about? Are they talking about the effectiveness of the Republican establishment in torpedoing their own Trump-endorsed candidates? Never forget, it was Republicans who sank the campaigns of Doug Mastriano and Blake Masters and Kari Lake. It was the Republican establishment that abandoned Herschel Walker in Georgia. It was the GOP establishment that over the last few weeks codified gay marriage, that approved billions of dollars more for Ukraine, and are even now in the process of negotiating amnesty for illegal immigrants. How could anyone acting so completely opposed to the values and interests of your own constituents is a winning formula? So what we've been seeing over the last few days with these 20 Republican rebels is nothing less than a backlash, an inevitable revolt against a party that so despises and disdains their own constituents. And how is that party responding? Do you see any semblance of self-awareness or contrition among the GOP elite? Of course not. Instead, we're witnessing nothing less than a full-court press by the Republican establishment and its gutless mouthpieces in the Murdoch media to intimidate, vilify, and threaten those who actually had the backbone to stand up against the very forces within the GOP that torpedoed their own candidates and despised their own constituents. But here's the problem. Such intimidation tactics aren't working. The ultra-MAGA forces aren't backing down. If anything, they're becoming even more emboldened. They sense that the establishment, the uniparty cartel, is panicked. Here's Matt Gaetz responding to the clown show accusation that's making its rounds among the various Karl Rove Republicans that dominate Fox News.
You got people like former Congressman Trey Gowdy, who said he called this opposition a clown show on national television. The former Speaker of the House, Newt Gingrich, has said that you are holding the House hostage. What is your response to that type of criticism?
Well, Trey Gowdy would know something about clown shows. That's probably how a lot of us would categorize the Benghazi hearings that resulted in people screaming at each other in a big report, but no real accountability. I remember the Trey Gowdy who went on your network as a congressman and said that he'd reviewed what had gone on with the FBI and the Department of Justice and that they had done nothing wrong and that actually the American people would be happy of what they were looking at with President Trump. We now, of course, know that to be false, and even Trey Gowdy has expressed regret about that. So I don't exactly take a lot of armchair quarterbacking from someone who during his time in Congress wasn't among the fighters.
Matt's on fire, man. Matt has found his wheelhouse. Trey Gowdy is a perfect example of the kind of establishment figure that this ultra MAGA revolt is rebelling against. Gowdy was famous for these classic outbursts against the Democrats, right? These 3-minute eruptions that utterly demolished the Democrats, only in the end for him to fold and capitulate to everything the establishment wanted. He's just like Chris Christie, right? Christie became famous after he was elected governor of Jersey back in 2009 for his utterly epic rhetorical takedowns of Democrats, of woke leftists in a town hall meeting when they asked him stupid gotcha questions. But in the end, Christie was a faithful member of the donor class establishment and refused to do anything disruptive of that establishment. It's this willingness to disrupt that makes Matt Gaetz and Chip Roy and Lauren Boebert so awesome. And the amazing news here is that based on the latest political trends, this disruption, this shattering of the establishment's business as usual approach is just getting started. You're going to love this. But first, gang, it is the new year, and it is the perfect time to treat yourself or a loved one with a warm, soft, comfortable MyPillow product from the one and only Mike Lindell. And the best part is you're going to save nearly 70% if you use my special promo code Turley. Promo code Turley will get you the same discount on all of Mike's nearly 200 MyPillow products. So, for example, if you get the classic MyPillow, which is normally $69.98, if you use promo code Turley, you'll get that same classic MyPillow for just $19.98. And that applies to over 200 products in their catalog. So don't wait. Click on that link below. Give the gift of comfort and warmth to your loved ones. Support one of America's most amazing patriots and get the best savings ever. Click on that link below right now. Here's the amazing Byron Donalds, who was nominated to be Speaker by Chip Roy yesterday, on Larry Kudlow giving Fox News a lesson on what's really happening here.
At the end of the day, do I believe Republicans are going to figure this out? Of course, we are going to elect a speaker. We're going to get that work done. But I think it's important for the American people to understand that unlike the Democrats who just do leadership by acclamation, we are actually having a deliberative process about what leadership looks like in the House of Representatives. We know Washington does not work. So having that deliberative discussion, which in some parts is messy at times, is in the long term in the best interest of America and of the body of the House of Representatives.
Again, this is so surreal. The establishment hacks at Fox News are faulting these 20 congressional Republicans for insisting on debate and deliberation. How dare you? How dare you step into the House of Representatives, the halls of Congress, and demand deliberation debate? How dare you? Fall in line, lackey, you peasant. However, if the GOP establishment actually paid attention to the political trends that have been reshaping politics all over the nation and indeed the whole of the Western world, they wouldn't have been caught by surprise in all of this. In many respects, what's happening here with this revolt against McCarthy and the establishment was inevitable. And that's because scholars have noticed an increasing clash between two kinds of democracies in the Western world. A clash between what's called pragmatic democracy versus redemptive democracy. I can't speak democracy today. Pragmatic democracy is precisely the kind of democracy that's operative within the permanent political class, okay? And it's exactly the kind of nauseating democracy we've been hearing from their surrogates in the Republican establishment media. What other alternative do we have to McCarthy? This is all just a waste of time. It's nothing more than a clown show. Let's get back to beating up the Democrats even though we end up voting with them in the end. This is what's known as pragmatic democracy. It's the way the ruling class, the cartel, the uniparty governs in accordance with their own values, interests, and concerns that are growing increasingly alienated from the values, interests, and concerns of their very own grassroots constituents, the people. This is why our politics appears increasingly cartelized with a singular uniparty, a duopoly made up of establishment Republicans and Democrats that seem to live in a world all their own, completely at odds and alienated from the political concerns of their constituents. And so, what scholars have noticed is that in response to this aloof aristocracy, this elite dismissiveness, more and more patriots are rising up and demanding what scholars call redemptive democracy, which insists that their representatives govern in accordance with the values, interests, and concerns of the people. This is the whole notion of democracy that has been animating and inspiring patriot movements, not just throughout our nation, but indeed throughout the whole of Europe as well. Patriots are sick and tired of having their values, interests, and concerns ignored in the face of pressures from the donor class, amplified and championed by an obedient seal-clapping establishment media. And that movement of redemptive democracy is precisely what we're seeing, not just pushing back against the establishment, but quite possibly, in the end, breaking that establishment in the process. As always, make sure to smack that bell and subscribe button. You'll definitely want to check out my latest video on a woke college student getting stunned silent when she heard something she never expected. You're going to absolutely love it. So make sure to click on that link, and I'll see you over there. God bless.